Hello and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's new episode of X Vlog Live. I am one of your hosts, Mr. BoomStick XL, and I'm here with my brother from another, King David. And you know the voice, you know the glasses, you know the statues, you also know the man. We have a lot to get into. King David, welcome back, brother.
Blessings. I am so happy to be here. Me and Boom be trying to chop it up. We be trying to figure it out. My schedule and stuff like that. I would have loved to come on yesterday, but yesterday was a huge day for gaming in its sense that I think all gamers get a chance to win. If you're a Steam person, you get a chance to see your library get expanded across various different devices. If you're a VR person, you have more options out there because a lot of options are taken away from you. I personally love the Valve Index back when it was out. They did have something else that they had. I forgot what it was called, but I had that too. I had every iteration of what they put out in the marketplace in VR, in early VR, and they are the pioneers in that space, and I appreciate it. I do have a Steam Deck. I can't wait for the Steam Deck 2. They didn't talk about that yesterday, but that's a cool thing. But at no point in time did I feel that Xbox and should feel that Xbox is in any form of danger. Actually, I do think the last person is, the PlayStation. And sorry to say, but they look like they drew the short end of the stick when it came up to everything. But if you hear these guys talking, and I'm talking about content creators that are trying to pay the bills for December, right? I want you guys to understand anything that you see right now. If you see anything that looks clickbaity, it looks like it's rage baity to get you to watch people's videos. People are jumping out of their bodies doing different things that you have never seen before in these couple of weeks that you see right now. It's because these checks that come out from YouTube, and don't think anybody's your friend and they're doing this for free. Nobody is. All right. So if you call somebody a shill, you look at everybody because nobody here is doing it for free unless they under 1,000 subs and they don't have the 3,000 views required to get monetized. All right. How about that part? But these individuals are doing things strange for some change, and they're doing as much as possible in order to get paid for these holidays because, listen, they got gifts to give and they got stuff to do and all that other stuff. I respect your hustle. What I don't respect is misguiding the people that's on YouTube and that's inside Twitter with all the rhetoric that Xbox is dead. There hasn't been more alive ever in my whole lifetime dealing with Xbox, and it's a great time to be a gamer. So as a gamer, me and Boom was chopping it up yesterday. I wish I could have been on the show yesterday, last night, but again, we had big news, and me and him scheduled for today.
Yep.
And I'm here, baby.
Well, we have two big topics to get into. Now, of course, this is an Xbox program, but we can talk about Xbox Game Pass. We could talk about the potential of next year's Xbox OEM device or even 2027's pair of devices that are going to be by Xbox. We could talk about Sarabon confirming that the actual Microsoft Xbox is going to be a premium, curated device. We can talk about how Xbox Games Studios, after tomorrow's release of Black Ops 7, will have put out 12 games, and there could be a baker's dozen in 13 with the rumor. Now, this rumor came the way of VGC this week, as a matter of fact, that Fallout 3 remake is a thing. It's in active development, and something? Today, we just got the trailer for Fallout Season 2 on Amazon Prime, and it would be pretty crazy, but, again, something that could happen, that they shadow drop Fallout 3 right before it to get people excited for the show. Folks, this is how this may work, but we're actually not going to be talking about Xbox today. Because you know what? There is a lot of PlayStation news, and it does not look good for Sony, King David. As a matter of fact, you and I were talking, and I think we both agree that Sony Interactive Entertainment, i.e. PlayStation, is limping into 2026. And we have two stories that are going to blow your mind and actually add some fuel to this fire. So, King, you and I were talking in our DM as we normally do. And yesterday, in a very surprising announcement, we have Horizon Steel Frontiers and Ratchet and Clank Ranger Rumble releasing on PC, mobile, and not the PlayStation 5 or PlayStation 4. As a matter of fact, they are skipping consoles altogether, and it enraged the PlayStation Nation. As a matter of fact, the head of the studio that's going to be bringing Horizon Steel Frontiers had to come out and make a presser and promise that they're not done with PlayStation consoles. You know, a shout out to Nico Muller, who is one of the finest posters on X. He goes on to say, not gonna lie, King, Sony releasing 2 new games on mobile and PC, but not on PlayStation, was not on my list this year. I mean, why would you not support your own baseline? As a matter of fact, we've seen several content creators who you're talking about need to pay the rent, you know, because the rent is due every month.
Facts.
Have come out and defended this. My question to you, King David, outside of what the H is happening at PlayStation, are a few things. One, does this mean that they're officially gone third party? Because I would say yes. I'm wondering when some people in the games community, and of course, more importantly, the games media, are going to start writing the hashtag PlayStation is dead articles. When that's going to happen. But, you know, I want to get your hot take on this, because these games, you know, one is a rumbler in the one with Ratchet and Clank. I don't know how well that's going to do. I'm sure that they have an audience that's going to play it. I love Ratchet and Clank. I would really like a new Ratchet and Clank, but because the last 2 didn't sell as well, that you might not get one, which is very sad, because the last 2 were stunning and they were incredible platformers, and it's what Insomniac Games knows how to do. But the Horizon game by NC Soft is going to be for an audience that's really not here in North America. It is really an Asia-based audience. It might do good there, but again, this is something that is not coming to the actual console. 2 games released for PC and mobile. And you know what's this is the sticker. This is the stinger, if you will. You know where you can play those games that you can't play on PlayStation 5? You can play those on the Xbox Ally X and S. There you go, King David. That's right. If you choose to play either of those games, you can play them on an Xbox device, but you cannot play them on a PlayStation device. Let's get your thoughts, man.
I'm doing the Vanna White. Oh, man. Okay, so I'm not going to say that this is unprecedented. Like, oh, this has never happened before. Xbox has done this before. Xbox has done this with Gears Pop. I was a huge Gears Pop fan.
Me too. It's fun.
Yeah, if anybody goes and look at my gamer score, I'm talking about days upon days in that title. My engagement level was high, and when they canned that game, I was really upset. So I'm not going to be a hypocrite and tell you guys, oh, this is wild. They're going out of business. No, they're doing business. Just the same way the State of Play Japan, I championed that show. They're showing monitors, they're showing speakers, they're showing charging stations, they're showing cloud gaming, they're showing the you don't necessarily need a PlayStation 5, and soon you're going to have the update to the portal where there's absolutely no login to the base console based on the mobile app that they're using now. Listen, all of this stuff has been in the works. PlayStation, I want you to think of it as the Titanic. It's a very large, slow turning ship, right? It's not as agile as you could say the speedier, more modern Microsoft Xbox cruiser that can spin at the drop of a dime and actually switch directions. PlayStation really needs a lot. It's an older ship. It does things slower. But when it does do it, it tries to do it as efficiently as possible because they don't have that much fuel, right? They don't have mid-ocean refueling. They have to get from point A to point B and refuel there. Now, with that analogy given to you, I want you to understand everything that Xbox is doing, they're going to do. Everything that Xbox has done, they're using it as a blueprint. Whatever Xbox has gotten wrong in certain instances, they will capitalize on that and actually try to improve on it. So they're releasing mobile games is a smart move. Y'all thought the China Hero project was based upon them going to China, going to all these Asian markets, and just getting games for PlayStation. PlayStation is not their center of their universe. And this last state of play is a showing, if you will, that you aren't the center of their universe. Actually, they have a very large universe in which they're going to start going to different planets. They're going to start going cloud. They're going to start entertaining PC. They're going to start greatly entertaining mobile. And with this mobile app, and they're venturing into mobile, and I told you, hashtag no PlayStation 6, we're going to run it up on these bums. I'm going to keep the boot on Kong's neck this whole generation. I told you that they will become an app before this generation is over. And that app will be on PCs, because what they're seeing now with the advent of Steam machines and everything that Steam is doing and Xbox is doing with Magnus and their foray into everything hybrid console PC, with everybody else taking their hands, and those ships are faster moving ships and they're able to capitalize a whole lot faster. They're seeing it and they're understanding what can they do right now. On a software level, what they can do is make sure that they're every place, always. If they get a PlayStation app, and I want you to hear me out, once you put it on, I heard they were supposed to lock it in with iPhones, but that kind of fell through because then you cut the market in half for no reason whatsoever. So they want to make sure that the app works well with iPhones, iOS, and works well with Android. And you're seeing that this app works very well with Android and, of course, iOS. So these games are going to be working well with that, but also incline launching on PC. You're not going to lose the PC market. The Asian market, if you will, is very mobile heavy. They're going to capitalize on that aspect. They got to make money. They need different revenue streams. And seeing this makes me happy, makes me know that at some point, PlayStation is going to be a diverse enough to pare down, make smaller titles, get them into everyone's hands across the world, quite literally, cell phones, make it happen, but show that you're willing to fight. Show that you're not stiff. You're not an old fuddy duddy. You're not that guy on your lawn. Get off my lawn. No, it's not about consoles. These dudes keep talking about console sales. And first of all, stop saying sales and start saying shipped. If you look at the manifesto, if you looked at everything that they talked about, they're talking about shipped and not sales. They did give you sales for Ghost of Yode, which was 3.3 million in a couple of months. And I believe that is a great thing for them because normally their games don't sell like that in this generation. So to get a game to sell like that, and it's sold mostly in Japan, and the rest of the Western world kind of is slow to adapt to it because I don't think the marketing is there. I don't think they know how to market right now. But since terrestrial television is kind of dead, but I do believe that through these apps, they can market properly. They can market their games properly. They could give you a concise idea of what cloud streaming is when you deal with PlayStation. But again, this is a bigger step, letting you know that they are everything outside of the console. Everything that Xbox has been doing for years, everything that everyone else has been doing for years, they're finally here to the party. They're fashionably late, but when they did show up, they do show up with a new title, or two new titles, and also a wonderful new app that's going to let you know more games like this is going to come to the handhelds, the PC and the mobile, without even touching the PlayStation. And that should not enrage you. You should want those IPs to live on because, again, Ghost of Yode at 3.3 million I don't think it broke even on the money that they spent for it being it's like DLC reused assets. I think at some point, if it reaches probably 5 to 6, it will reach its money back. I don't think these games sell on the PlayStation platform regardless. And I do believe that these games actually sell on mobile and do have a life on mobile and those Android type handhelds or the PC handhelds. So I do think they will find life there. I don't think they find life on the PlayStation itself.
Well, I mean, again, you made mention of something that's really important. Xbox has been doing this for a while, right? We know that their next Xbox is going to be a different type of console. That we're going to see multiple OEM partners.
Yeah.
I keep banging this drum, folks. I do think that when you start to blur the lines of console and PC, this is where mobile comes in. Now, Xbox allows you to play your games pretty much anywhere. There is a significant, I think there's over 1,000 games that are available on Xbox Play Anywhere. They're working on a program that is going to allow you as the consumer to play your entire library from A-hole to elbow on any device that you have, whether that be phone, whether that be handheld, your TV, because TV is going to come back in a big way. These TVs are powerful, and you're going to be able to at some point run a Series X game at high fidelity on some of these TVs. Now, is it going to be as good as a console? Probably not, but that's not the point. The point is that you can play anywhere. This new direction for Sony, they have to take this direction. I do see some pushback from some of the people in the chat, like, oh, this is this is an Xbox show. Why are you talking about Sony? Well, this is a big story. And Sony is going to be making moves that are going to make a lot of people on PlayStation side very uncomfortable. The traditional PlayStation is dead, whether you want to admit it or not. Okay? They are moving in different ways. Now, the PlayStation 6, make no mistake, and I've said this many times before, is going to be a powerful box. But you're going to start to see at some point they're going to be shifting to day and date on PC. I don't think you're ever going to see day and date on Xbox, day and date on Switch. You are going to see day and date on PC because of the success of Helldivers 2. That right there, that incredible success is the reason why they are making these moves. So you keep saying that there's not that, and you've been saying this for a while. Hashtag no PlayStation 6. I believe there's going to be a PlayStation 6, but what's interesting here, King David, is during their financials, we learned that PlayStation 5, according to the big brass that move mountains, Lin Tao, who is the CFO, she said publicly, and this, you got to remember, this has got to be real because it moves stocks, that the PlayStation 5 is where? In the middle of its life cycle. So if it's in the middle, and again, last night we talked about it, me, Kay, and Hargeet Chani, and both of them seem to think that there is going to be a PlayStation 6 sooner than later. But if we go based on the math, and I'm no mathematician, folks, this console launched in 2020. We're in 2025. Lin Tao says that we are at the halfway mark of the PlayStation 5. If they are going to release the PlayStation 6 somewhere after or close to the 10-year cycle of the PlayStation 5, where does that put that console? 2029? 2030? These are the different moves, King, that they're making. And look, these games launching on mobile and PC and not on PlayStation, I'm already starting to see it. It is making a lot of the PlayStation community very uncomfortable.
They don't buy games anyway.
What's that?
I said they don't buy games anyway. It's listen. Xbox had to stop listening to the vocal minority and listen to who actually spending money, the casuals. PlayStation never really listened to any of you guys at all. You're just a byproduct of your own fandom. And the reason why I say hashtag no PlayStation 6 is a lot of guys get it kind of misconstrued. Like, I don't want a PlayStation 6. I'm a tech head. I have everything.
Mhm.
Everything. I'd give me a PlayStation 6 tomorrow, but the reality is there isn't one right now. And the reality is the world that we're living in right now, I don't know what the world looks like in 2029. Now, I
Right, no
told
one
you
does.
when this started that when this generation started, I told you in 2018 that that the PlayStation, because the PlayStation 5 was launching, I told you that the PlayStation 6, yeah, it was 2018 to 2019 or before the PlayStation 5 launched. The PlayStation, Jim Ryan said that might be their last console. But I got some white papers that explained to me on their their planning schedule, the timeline. They were looking at releasing the PlayStation 6 in 2028, late 2028, early 2029, and that they was going to continue to work with AMD and all that other stuff. All that stuff was there, and I I still have the white papers and stuff like that. And in seeing that, I said this can go one of two ways. Now, over the years, handheld gaming became more prevalent. Now, I know from my contacts over at Microsoft and Xbox that they were fiddling around with what was that the streaming device, which eventually got canned but turned into the Fire Stick, right? Now, this is the reason why this is very important. What I'm telling you, it got canned and got turned into the Fire Stick. So okay, that thing didn't happen. Remember, Xbox was working on their handheld, their internal handheld for themselves, and they apparently that got shelved. And then we have the Xbox ROG Ally and Xbox ROG Ally X. I personally believe that the internal handheld is canned, the same way the streaming device is canned. Right now, I could be wrong, but I do believe that it's going to happen. Now, this device comes out and it's an overpriced device, but it gives you exactly what it said it was going to do, and it delivers it in spades. Now, can it be $800? Yeah, I would have loved that price. $800 is an affordable price that I think kind of works in the marketplace. $1,000, hell to the no. But I understand for those people that say, you know what, I'm going to dig in my pockets this holiday. I work very hard for it. I get it. Full disclosure, Xbox sent me mine as a review unit, and again, the video is up and we talked about it and stuff like that. So that has full disclosure. I'm not telling anybody to purchase or not to purchase. It's a wonderful device if you understand what you're getting into and what you're looking for. Now we have news of the Magnus and the PlayStation 6 and the PlayStation handheld. With the PlayStation Portal being as successful as it is, I honestly believe that the handheld from the PlayStation can come out a lot faster. All I have to do is throw a SSD, some more inputs and stuff like that, jazz up the CPU, a little bit on the GPU, but make sure that the device mirrors and imitates the Portal in form and delivery, but also just make it natively downloadable games that you can play that are PlayStation 5 games. That your library that you have, this is where the app comes in. This is where their mobile storefront comes in. This is where Sony thinking big brain mode actually makes sense. They put out this device. This device comes out for $600-700. I think it kills. I think this device sells 10 million units easy. Nintendo could do it. I believe they can do it in spades. Effectively, what does that do to the home market if the home and that device will come out in 2027? What does that do to the PlayStation 6 that is not ready yet? Late 2028, 2029. That device being super successful and you're able to hook it up to the television, and at some point you won't need a PlayStation 5 at all. With the PlayStation 5 Pro still being the de facto last console and still at this price point of $700-800, you will have to put a PlayStation 6 in the store at upwards of $1,000 or $900. I don't think PlayStation has the stomach to sell a unit with that high price tag. That's why they stopped reporting PlayStation 5 Pro prices. Numbers. You have to see the forest for the trees. It's not that I don't want a PlayStation 6. It's just that logically, from a business standpoint, a unit that you can get in your hand that can deliver all the stuff that you want and is cheaper, more versatile, makes a whole lot more sense. I think they want to be in a position of Nintendo and out of the console business. Xbox is in a different position. They're launching a whole lot sooner. I would have told you the same thing for them if they was talking about 28, 29 with Steam dropping this year. They need to have a unit next year. They definitely do. So these two juggernauts are in peril in the sense that if you wait too long, the streaming platform, and we're in a platform era, we saw Xbox lose the digital era based upon the users. They lost that to PlayStation. That's why PlayStation units are so high, because the user base. They're not going to lose this to Steam. So hashtag no PlayStation 6 is not me just talking out of my behind. It's just actually backing it up with the data that makes sense. Now, everybody wants a PlayStation 6. Yes, if it does come out in 2027, that'll be a miracle within itself. And then there'll be a PlayStation 6. But if you're talking about late 2028, early 2029, in the climate that we're in right now, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Well, it's going to be very interesting to see what the companies do. And again, we have a path. Xbox has carved out a path. This year, more specifically, they have been very vocal. Sarah Bond has really came out there and shook the pillars of heaven by talking about the device and how it's going to be premium, how it's going to be a curated device. And again, depending on what side of the aisle you fall on, some people think that their handheld is not happening. Mm-hmm. I beg to differ. I think they are going to have a dockable handheld. That's my take on it, because it'd be the cheaper way or the entry way into next generation, and it will be for the casual audience who still like consoles. And again, this is just me spitballing. I could be 1,000% wrong, but I can tell you this: they are jumping Sony by at least a year, maybe 2 years. And I know there's going to be some people in the chat like, well, no one buys an Xbox now. Okay, you're not wrong. The Series S and the Series X, they didn't sell as well as some of their older other consoles. That's true. But someone actually said, and I think it was Lad in the chat, says when you have a box that has all of the apps, that is what people are going to gravitate to. So you're going to have people like me who are non-PC players, and we're going to swim in those waters because we're going to get a chance to enjoy Steam. Some PC players already enjoy Steam. I don't, because I don't really use it. Now I am using it because of the Xbox Ally X. But when you have it on console and you can play GOG and you can play your Epic Games Store and you can do everything else, including play all of your Xbox games, there is something else that I've said, King, and I want to get your thoughts on this real quick. And you made mention of it, but I don't think we're on the same page here. I said the other day that I am not buying a PlayStation 6, and I got a lot of slack for it, right? I have a PlayStation 5. I buy every one of their games. Here is why I don't need a PlayStation 6. Because if the next Xbox is going to be as powerful as they say it is, we're using Sarah Bond's words, premium and curated device. We have heard that the die size on this thing is going to what? Be the biggest in history for home consoles. That's what we're hearing.
Yep.
What's been reported. Well, if Sony, who is now putting games onto mobile and skipping PlayStation, are going to change the game again and do dual releases, day and date releases for their console and for PC, a guy like me does not need a PlayStation 6 because my Xbox that I'm going to have potentially next year, it being the OEM device, and in 2027, the actual Microsoft box, the premium and curated box, I will be able to play PlayStation games on that console with, and again, what it does for me and what it'll do for a lot of people is not need a PlayStation 6. What's your thoughts on that, man?
Okay, two things. One, I don't believe Xbox puts out a manufactured device from themselves.
Oh,
With semi unsubstantiated reports about them having a purchasing deal of 50 million system on chips. Well,
chips.
not system on chips. Well, chips. Let's say chips.
Yeah.
Um, I believe that they're going to be the main facilitator to OEM companies that are going to step up and have a performance sheet in which you will have different units that will bear the Xbox branding. These devices will have to get the chips from Microsoft themselves, what Microsoft being the main distributor to their manufacturing arm and use their distribution brand as the facilitator to get these consoles to people. And I think you will have a line just like the OEM handheld devices. Like right now, you have Asus. The next up is from what I understand, is not the Legion Go. I think that is the Lenovo. I think it's MSI is the
Yeah,
next
the
one
MSI
up.
Claw is another is a
Right.
really good one. Yeah.
Then you have Lenovo and this.
Alienware, you have Dell. There's quite a few of them.
Well, I'm talking about the ones that are actually utilizing the partnership with Microsoft.
Mm.
So those three that I mentioned now, and then there's one more I can't mention yet because I'm going to actually go see devices soon. Um, I believe those four is going to be the same partners that are going to ship out these consoles. Now, that's just my opinion. Take that with a grain of salt. All right. Okay. So again, everything I just said is hyperbole. Could be not, right? I'm just 98% right all the time, right? Who am I? I'm nobody, right? Nobody at all. But again, a PlayStation 6. Does this device speak to me? In the next coming years, what PlayStation does to show their versatility in the company will dictate if a PlayStation device gets purchased by me. Now, let me be very absolutely clear with you. I have purchased every PlayStation device, be it foreign or domestic, since they made a console.
Yeah, me too. I've been
I,
there. In
I,
fact, I used to import them all the time.
right. We was both downtown doing it. Um Now, the device will still get purchased by me based on I'm a tech head. If the next Xbox, and this is a giant if, because there's we're living in a questionable state here, right? The questionable state is, does PlayStation go day and date? Now, I've said this on numerous occasions. I believe Wolverine is the single player story driven narrative game
Mm.
that is going to force PlayStation to go day and date on PC. There's two reasons why I believe this to be true. The hack that happened pushed the timeline back on Wolverine.
Yeah, by 2 years at least.
Right.
Yeah.
Disney still want their money.
Mm-hmm.
The contract hasn't changed. As antiquated as that contract is, it's still the same. The resources that they put into that game in the beginning before the hack was substantial. Now, that leads me to believe that the money that they put in after the hack is equally as substantial because they had to start from ground zero. In knowing this and in knowing that Spider-Man 2 has not reached its metrics of being super profitable based on how much money that they had to pay Disney, Sony has to make sure that Wolverine is a colossal success. He is not a bigger star than Spider-Man. Globally, Spider-Man is a million times more recognizable than Wolverine. With that knowledge, then that game must be day and date on other devices. Now, herein lies the rub. We all know that the Xbox next console, whatever it's called, it could be, I don't know, Xbox, whatever. I don't know. They name things stupid.
But there's a bunch of names floating around. Xbox Quantum. There's a bunch of them.
Stupid names. I would fix the brand. I honestly believe they're going to go day and date, and that game will be launched on the Xbox day and date. They are no longer in a position to dictate, because a lot of people told me that they would block the Xbox ROG Ally X from playing PlayStation games. Immediately, I've played PlayStation games. I play PlayStation games on it all the time with no problem. Actually, they run better than the PlayStation. They look better. What I'm saying is that device is going to be so robust, so beastie, that it could make somebody that isn't a PlayStation fan actually say, you know what, I got to get that. The reason why the PlayStation 6, if it does come out, is viable is the same reason why Xbox will always be viable to an Xbox consumer. Your digital self means a ton. Your digital library means even more. Your digital footprint in this ecosystem means the world to you. So if you get a device that has all your games, back compatibility, everything up to wazoo, well, then that's your home and that's your digital life. So for anybody that loves PlayStation, yes, of course you're going to buy a PlayStation 6. If anybody loves Xbox, of course you're going to buy Xbox. The thought of somebody or some device coming in and eradicating your thought process of this is where I live, this is my home, these are my games, this is my digital self, this is my name tag, my identity, this is what you've built up throughout years. If you think something's going to come in and wipe that away, you're insane. This is the reason why people stay loyal to the death. So again, the PlayStation coming out, yeah, I'll be there. I do have games and I do have a library and I do have a digital history and I do have a digital self. Is it as large and as robust as my Xbox digital self? Hell no. If I had to choose between the two, well, digital PlayStation King gotta die. But that's not the case. And hopefully it never gets to be the case where I gotta choose either or. Hopefully financially, everything stays the same, where we're as fortunate as we are to have a hobby which we indulge in responsibly and respect it, because if you don't respect it, you get out of control, and we can partake in all these different devices. So yeah, it's something that everybody should actually keep in the back of their head, because if they happen to pull it off, no matter where they put their games, you're not going to spread yourself thin. You're just going to go where you go best. That's about it.
Yeah, it's a good point. Well, listen again, folks. This was a big topic. One I didn't expect to go as long as we did, but well, we did.
I'm long-winded.
And there you go. There you go. Talk that TTS, as Dirk Brigady and the gang likes to say. Look, let me just catch up on a couple of super chats we got here, King David, and we will get to topic number 2 regarding Marathon. I think that we have a lot to get into, and Marathon is, well, at least Bungie is potentially hinging on whether they are still a studio if Marathon bombs. We're going to get into why this is even a topic and what they're saying on the interwebs. So we have James Thomas, who's been a channel member for 5 months. He says, I think The Elder Scrolls deserves a show. I mean, we're going to get into it the more. I mean, we talked about it on, I think it was Monday's show, where Todd Howard broke down what Todd Howard had, said regarding The Elder Scrolls 6 being ways off, and that they're going to have something to show when the game is close to releasing, because that's what he does. We'll see what happens with that game. I originally thought, and it could happen still, but the rumor is they started working like full production on this in 2024. Their games take at least 5 years. So my original thought was 27 for the launch of the next Xbox, or the next box as they're calling it. I think it's closer to 28. It might even be further out than that. I mean, Fallout 5 is potentially 2033 if you go based on, how big of a game that they could, work on at any one time. They're still doing Starfield. Ultimately, the curse for Bethesda is that they have too many high-powered IPs. And they do have like 2,300 people working at the studio. It's not like they're a small studio. They are a massive studio, but I don't know if they could do 3 games at once. I don't know if any studio can do that, but that's not true because
Obsidian.
there you go. Obsidian did launch 3 games and an update to Pillars of Eternity that made a turn-based mode. So yeah, maybe they could. Who knows? So thank you so much for the support, brother. We have a new channel member, Valentone. Salute to you, kind sir. Thank you for once again joining Double Barrel Gaming's channel membership. And we have Mac22 in the chat. He says this after dropping a very generous $5 super chat. FYI, Boom and King, yesterday I downloaded PlayStation Plus on my ROG Xbox Ally X. Like I told C Money last night, it's game over. Hashtag PlayStation 6. We are going to see, I mean, the industry is rapidly changing. And these game sales, folks, listen, I know that there's going to be people in the chat that be like, oh, I buy games. And if you do, that's awesome. The problem with all platforms, and Nintendo is probably the only one that's a bit immune to this because their attach rate per console and game sale is unlike anybody else in the industry. But when you look at Steam, when you look at Xbox, and you look at PlayStation, all you have to do is seek out Circana. Circana gives us the numbers, and that is Matt Piscatella's joint. Matt Piscatella, even though people like to break his balls, is one of the smartest guys in any room he's standing in. He understands the business of gaming, and he has reported time and time and time again that less games are being purchased. And when less games are being purchased, less money is being made by the corporations. The black hole games, the Apex Legends and the Marvel Rivals and the Fortnites and the Call of Duty War Zones are eating the lunch of these publishers and the developers who are trying to put out a game against thousands of other developers and publishers. It is a bloodbath out there, folks, and there's no guarantee for success. Again, the industry is rapidly changing, and changes are going to have to be made. And you know what? For PlayStation's side of things, a lot of uncomfortable changes are going to be made, and we'll see how their fan base responds. Because again, the fan base, the loudest, the big voices, the toxic MFs of social media equate for about 5 to 7%, and I think I'm being generous. PlayStation's main base are the normies, the casuals that buy 2 games a year, folks. And they don't care about console wars. They just want to play good games. That's why something like Forza Horizon 5, which is a phenomenal game, is one of the best-selling games on PlayStation, right? There's reasons for that because they want to play good games, and Xbox is going to be delivering good games, as they have been, to that platform. Again, changes. But, King David, I got a story here in front of me. I sent it to you, but I'm going to read verbatim. This comes the way of Push Square, which, of course, is a PlayStation-focused website. That is correct. So this is what it says. So this was written by Liam Croft, posted on Tuesday at 6 a.m. And the lead up to this story says that Sony speaks on Bungie's acquisition disaster, takes an apparent losses, sales, user engagement have fallen short or shorter than expectations for both Bungie and SIE. So I'm going to read verbatim from the story here, and this is pretty interesting, folks. Sony's $3.6 billion purchase of Destiny 2's developer Bungie has, for all intents and purposes, been an utter disaster, and the PlayStation 5 and PS4 hardware maker all know this to be true. Having bought the studio to assist its push into live service spaces, Sony has canceled multiple multiplayer projects and only had a single win with Helldivers 2. Destiny 2, after its main storyline concluded with the Final Shape DLC, has also fallen on very hard times, bleeding players and all-around sentiment around the title, and it's at its lowest point. So check this out, folks. As a result of these failings, Sony has recorded an apparent loss against a portion of the assets at Bungie. This is where it gets interesting, King. Lin Tao, the CFO and corporate executive officer at Sony Interactive Entertainment, shared the comment as part of a Q&A section in today's Q2 financial call for fiscal year 2025. And here is Tao's full quote, and it reads as such, King. Regarding Destiny 2, she says, partially due to the changes in the competitive environment, the level of sales and user engagement have not reached the expectations we had at the time of the acquisition of Bungie. While we will continue to make improvements, we downwardly revised the business projection for the time being and recorded an apparent loss against a portion of the assets at Bungie. King David, look, it's safe to say, and I've said this before, and I'm not being insulting, folks. I'm not looking to console war. There is nobody here on this panel, and I really don't think anybody in the chat, to be honest with you, want to see Bungie go the way of the dodo, right? If something fails, I'll put it this way. If they continue to fail, Bungie's in a pickle, and nobody wants to see anyone lose their jobs. Nobody wants to see any studio closures. Bungie has been a part of gaming for decades, ladies and gentlemen, but I think their success really is hinging on what happens with Marathon. And right now, I have talked to a couple of people. You've heard the people talk about it. And again, I always suggest if you're signing NDAs, don't break them because you can get sued. The talk of the town is that the update that they did on Marathon is not enough. That is the rumor that's floating around. If you go to the socials, this is what people are talking about. I have not talked to anybody that broke NDA and any of the NDAs, and I would not have mentioned it if I did because you don't want to see anybody get in trouble. But the talk on social media is that Marathon, which is considered an extraction shooter, even with its changes, are just not up to snuff. Now, I don't know that for sure because I haven't played it, but extraction shooters are not for me. But there is a problem, a gleaming problem. Arc Raiders the other day had 1 million+ concurrent players and continues to dominate King David on Steam. It's doing well on console. As a matter of fact, PlayStation 5, which is, again, a much bigger base, has only edged out the PlayStation players by a pinch. So there's just as many PlayStation players as there are Xbox players. And that's incredible considering that our near 84 million consoles shipped, like you said, and of course the 30 million consoles for Xbox. So that just goes to show you who's playing multiplayer. Well,
actually,
games.
There's like 41 million Xboxes sold.
I know, but I always undercook it because it's 30 million today. Tomorrow it's 18 million. They continue to steal away Xbox sales. It's fine. It's a running joke here on Double Barrel Gaming. But King, Bungie, Sony Interactive Entertainment, and Marathon, I think when you look at it, are sitting on potentially some dire, uncomfortable truths. Sony paid $3.6 billion. And you know what was interesting? And you actually specifically talked about this, not only on ILP, you talked about it on the videos that you've done at the time, where Jim Ryan literally said that the better purchase was not the $67 billion spent on Activision, but was the $3.6 billion investment into Bungie, because at the time, he thought that they were going to run the gambit with the 12 gas games they had, and guess what? So far, they've released one, and that is Helldivers 2, which is ragingly successful. I want to get your thoughts on this, because if Marathon has to contend with Call of Duty, Marvel Rivals, Fortnite, and now an actual extraction shooter in Arc Raiders, which is literally eating everyone's lunch, if that game fails, what happens to Bungie, dude?
Well, Bungie's dead anyway. Bungie has been absorbed into the whole of Sony. They already told you that they already started the process. So that's neither here nor there. They're done. They were already cooked. I mean, the hyperbole that Jim Ryan actually said after and Jim Ryan pushed that narrative that Bungie was worth the squeeze. I got to give Phil Dominus Maximus Aurelius Spencer, first of his name, his props, because he told you Bungie themselves had a high burn rate.
Yeah.
And no one understood what he said. This is not the first time that Phil was offered Bungie. He was offered Bungie before they went to Activision, and they went to Activision, and he refused then. And they went there, and then boom, you saw what happened, and they got themselves free from that situation. And then ABK deal happens. Thank God the ABK deal happens after Bungie left, because then you would have had a situation where Microsoft would be in charge of this debacle. And this is a wonderful thing that they were decoupled, if you will, from ABK. So in a reactionary purchase, Jim Ryan goes out and he purchases because he had a strategy. Now, I'm not going to disrespect Jim, because I thought Jim's strategy was sound. If you look at the marketplace and you look at everything and you say, damn, this is where everyone is going, right? Because I think PlayStation would have been in a better position, wouldn't be dropping one game a year. The hell, who are you dropping one game a year? Like, who are you? Like, who do you really think you are to have your fan base and sit down and wait for you whenever you drop at the end of the year? Not everybody cares about your baseball game, bro. Right? So they're here for single player story driven narrative games. And if you have 13 studios, by golly, you should be cranking these things out. But you made big budgets, and Jim saw the problem. That's why Sharon Layden was canned. He was canned because he was ballooning budgets.
Yep.
So now that you reached the Rubicon and you can't make the way back, you kind of messed up. Jim righted the ship. Had 13 games of service ready to go, with Herman Hulse sitting right next to him, agreeing on everything that was happening. Marathon is one of those games, but they put Bungie in ahead of a lot of that stuff. You have Fear games that's there. You had a lot of games that are there. One of the biggest debacles that happened was Concord. Now, we know what happened in Concord, but I don't agree with how Concord was handled. Me personally, you jazz it up, you fix them up, you put some waifus in it, you make the game actually pleasing. You get rid of the DEI inclusion stuff, and you know what the hell I'm talking about. You get rid of that stuff, and you put in stuff that actually matters. That stuff that actually matters, you resuscitate the game by not selling the game, but placing it in your service. You got to believe in yourself. Xbox believes in itself. That's why Game Pass is successful to this day, because day one titles are in Game Pass. If you don't like that $30, then go get the $16 one. All right, don't cry. They don't owe you anything. They're a corporation, and if you want to partake in day one titles, well, then, hey, you got to pony up. You heard me? So they believe in this stuff. It looks like PlayStation had some weird thing going on, some duality happening here where they didn't really commit to their service. They never really commit to what PlayStation Plus could be, right? And that's their biggest fault. So now when Hiroki shows up, all these games of services get axed. Well, you can't go in there and ask the person that you purchased, the company that you purchased, for $3.6 billion, which was an overspend, a reactionary spend, if you ask me. What you do, you got to let them see it through. So Hiroki goes in and cans everything, but keeps Marathon? Marathon was a piss poor title when they showed it. Marathon had some weird, they thought they were really Kojima with the stupid ass cinema that they were showing. It was stupid. It didn't make any sense. Then it comes out, allegedly they stole assets, art design from people. Then you fire the guy who in turn sues you for defamation at what is that number? $200 plus million. It's funny how Lin Tao, the CFO at Sony, said that the Bungie is negative $200 plus million. That's kind of funny how that's the same number they're being sued by. So again, Marathon is going to fail. Bungie has never been the same regardless. If you heard about the toxic environment that was there, they got rid of all the community managers, they gutted the complete staff. It was a shell of its former self, and it got absorbed into Sony. It was all part of the whole plan to steal the talent, to steal the IP, and to have a live service game that is functional, which is Destiny 2. What they should have did, and I agree with Attic every day. Lord Attic has been right the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
They should have canned Marathon, got to work on Destiny 3, and let it be.
Yeah.
But they didn't. And this is where it comes back to bite you. You have a $3.6 billion albatross around your neck that you're never going to get the money back. Nothing that you ever do with those studios, because already you have lost everybody. Yeah. All right? It's not coming back. So again, it's an unmitigated loss. It's a wash, and they need to move on from it right now, because if you thought that Concord was a disaster, this thing has less flair, less pizzazz, less graphical impact, less style than Concord. If you thought Concord sucked, well, get a load of Marathon, because it's going to suck. Pause. It's going to suck on Xbox, on PC, and on PlayStation. See, at least Concord just sucked in one place. Pause. Yeah. This thing is going to suck all over.
Are you saying it's going to be a title of the town?
It's going to have a scarlet letter that is so big you're going to see it from the moon.
Well, I got news for you. One other point of contention before we get on out of here, because this is one of the shorter shows of the week. This is also a paid-for title, King David.
Yeah, that's
stupid. They have confirmed that it is going to be $40 for the regular edition and potentially $60 for the deluxe edition that will include skins and such. I got news for you. If this does not launch as a free-to-play game like a Marvel Rivals or like a Fortnite or a Call of Duty Warzone, this thing is not going to sell, and it is going to go DOA maybe even sooner than Concord. Any final thoughts on that, King David?
Again, they don't believe in their services. If they actually believed in their service, good. Sell it to everybody else. Yep. Put it in your service. If you happen to have the X amount of millions that are inside your service, make it free for every tier. Make sure every tier has access for it. Give them double XP. Make sure that it's cross save. Make sure that that thing is cross play, cross progression, cross save. Make sure that you give as much life to it as possible. And then drop little vignettes. Do things that are nice with the title. Make the title attractive, but make it attractive to PlayStation owners. Stop treating PlayStation owners like second-class citizens when they're giving you first-class cash when it comes to PlayStation Plus. I want to know what day are they going to wake up and realize they have a service that gives you cloud gaming, that gives you titles that's inside the ecosystem, but they don't believe in it because they don't put day and date. Day and date will not erode your sales. You're not selling anyway. It took, I don't know how many years since Astrobot been out, and it's still at only 1.5 million sold. And the fact that y'all stuffed them inside how many console boxes to boost up those numbers let you know that their ecosystem don't buy games as much as you think. So if they don't, but your services is good, throw it in your service. Get the engagement numbers. Get the metrics. Then sell it to Xbox. Sell it to PlayStation. To PC. Sell it to mobile if you gotta. But make sure you sell it to everybody else. But give it to your fan base for free. That way they can see value. That way they can stop starving. These guys are starving while Xbox we're eating, and it makes no sense.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, look, I'll say this. You bring up a really great point. I pay for premium. Right now, last year I unclicked the automatic renewal at I think it was the 160 or the 180. I'm not sure what the total price
180,
is. And I said no, I'm not
175.99.
doing it because I don't use it. I don't turn on my PlayStation 5, and it's not being console worry, folks. The games that I bought the PS5 for, they're just not there now. Ghost of Yotai, I didn't buy because I was reviewing 3 games. I just don't have the time for it. I'm going to buy the game. The game looks amazing. It's gorgeous. I have a TV that's going to make it look like a painting come to life, and I can't wait to play it. But outside of that, there's been nothing. Now, for me, Astrobot last year, one of my favorite titles. I cannot wait for a sequel. But if, just getting back to the service part of things, it's very interesting that premium does not get Marathon. Now, granted, it could change. Things could change before the game comes out, right? It's coming out next year, so things could change. It's unlikely. But if that were to be dropped into the premium tier, maybe you can get some people to buy some DLC. Maybe you can get some of the PlayStation community to play the game. But if this thing launches across all platforms, and again, we expect it to be on Xbox and on PC, I don't think it's going to make its way to Switch, but you never know. But if it's on PS5 and it's on Xbox and it's on Steam, and this thing is $40 out the gate, because it's an extraction shooter, which is a niche market, this thing is going to be dead. It is going to die, and it's going to be another failure. And mind you, we didn't even bring into the conversation Jade Raymond's Fair Games, which, by the way, she's no longer with the studio, right? She's gone.
And they took the dollar sign off.
And they took the dollar sign off, which means that game may again, I'm expecting any Manic Wednesday or Tuesday for it to come up and be, oh yeah, this game has been canceled, because you haven't heard anything about it. And the last time you did hear about Fair Games, people said it was terrible. Yep. So if that's terrible and Marathon is terrible, that's more loss for Sony, folks. We're going to see how this plays out. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for us. I did have to ban one guy that just refused to kind of just pump his brakes a little bit. And yes, this is an Xbox show, right? And we did talk about the Steam machine last night at great lengths. As a matter of fact, for 40 minutes on Primetime Gaming. But these two stories are the hot topic. And even though they're not Xbox related, we did have some Xbox talk on what Xbox is doing versus what Sony is doing. And Sony is going to do what Xbox is doing. They're just going to do it at a slower rate, as they always have. And that's how they copy, folks. They copy Xbox's homework on a regular basis. And they never get the arrows, because when they do it, just like when the Portal was announced last week as being able to stream, games, it became, oh my God, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. But Xbox, when they did it, it was the arrows. So I'm just saying that the media is funny like that. But King David, let's sell the brand, brother, because obviously we all know about the ILP. We all know about lordsofgaming.net, but what we also want to know more about is your own YouTube channel, which you drop videos pretty much every day, and some of them are amazing. So we want to get more people to subscribe to your YouTube channel. Sell the brand, brother. Where can people check you out on the socials, but more importantly, subscribe to your personal YouTube channel?
You can check me out at Xbox Frontline News with your boy, the King, and Frontline Gaming Streams, where I stream games daily. Now, I was just playing Sekiro, and if you know, I suck at Souls games, but since playing Black Myth and a lot of other Souls games like Elden Ring, the kid got kind of good. And I just had to get good at Sekiro, and I don't suckido anymore. So come and check me out over there. The commentary is actually fun. We do Fight Night Fridays. Friday is showing up. Today's Thursday. I call it Thor's Day, Friday Junior. So check us out tomorrow, where we actually be playing some fighting games. We do have some Street Fighter, because Sagat is back, and we do have some Mark of the Wolves because Chung-Li is definitely showing up over there. So come out, have some fun. Mortal Kombat, we doing all of that stuff. But Xbox Frontline News, if you're an Xbox fan and you want to go to have positive Xbox news, if you're tired of looking at the cup at half empty and you want to have a cup that's half full, well, come check me out. I drop videos daily, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Saturdays I go live. Now on the live show, There's a Discord you can jump in, and if you have anything that you want to talk about, we can talk about it. If you don't agree with anything that I say, you can actually debate, and we do it respectfully. Please be respectful. Also, be respectful in the chat. If you had a topic that you wanted to hear about today, the best way to actually get that stuff done, put a super chat in, right? Don't be disrespectful in there. Take a $2 super chat. Say, hey, what do y'all think about this? And you get more bees with honey than because you can get flies with. Right? Exactly. So don't get canned out here. Just get your point across. Be articulate in your words, because that way you'll open many doors for yourself instead of getting doors slammed in your face.
And every time I see a door slammed in the face, I think of Denzel Washington going boom. And I love that. Yeah, I love that. You use that all the time. Good stuff. But ladies and gentlemen, a big thank you to all of the super chats, channel member chats, and gifted subs that continue to come in to support Double Barrel Gaming. Mrs. Boom and I are always going to be very grateful for the support. A big thank you to over 400 people watching live. And again, this is the smaller, show of the week. But again, to have 400 people is a big deal, because we used to be able to get 25 people, and I was happy and running around the house excited about that. So we have grown in big ways. We are officially 16.3K, and we are now starting to progress a little bit faster to that 16.4. So maybe 17K is closer than we think. But we did announce this year, and it's a really big deal for a small ass channel like this, we crossed 8 million subs in under 8 years. That is averaging 1 million subs. And that's thanks to you fine folks. Because again, without an audience to actually click, watch, and share these out on the socials, we would have nobody watching. So ultimately, you guys and gals are the heroes. And you know what to say about heroes? Not all heroes, ladies and gentlemen, wear capes. So thank you so much for supporting the channel. And of course, for King David and myself, we want to wish everyone an amazing Thursday. The weekend is 24 hours away. And guess what? We have Black Ops 7. Yes! Launching. I freaking cannot wait. And I'm going to be getting my gun on. So, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the rest of your day. Play on whatever consoles you enjoy gaming. And I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully, one day it'll be important to you, and that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids, and would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you next week on the newest episode of X Vlog Live.